Hi everyone. Today's lesson I'm going to teach you how to do palmas por tangos, which means you're going to be doing palmas in a palo or a mini genre of flamenco itself. So I'm going to teach you a complete rhythmic structure today. It's a fairly simple one, but there are a few different elements. So don't be stressed. It's going to be a little bit more than what we've done so far, but I'll teach it to you in a compartmentalized way, so this should be pretty easy to pick up each element and then combine them. But before I get into today's lesson, if you've been enjoying the lesson so far, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button below so that you can continue to be alerted anytime a new lesson is uploaded to the channel. I'm trying to do at least one or two a week at this time. So let's talk again about this structure or in this mini genre. Like, what makes up a mini genre in flamenco? How do I know if something is por tangos or in tangos, or if it's por rumba or farruca, or if it's sevillana, or if it's alegría? Like, how do I know the difference? And there are four major components that characterize each of these mini genres or palos. Those components are how many beats are in a bar. I'll stick to the simplest way to explain it because they can get very complex and I want to keep it simple for today. But let's say it could be 4, 6, or 12. So if you have 4, 6, or 12 beats in a bar, that is one of the elements that characterize that mini genre or palo. The second would be, where do we put the accents on those beats? And by accent, I mean which of those 4 or 6 or 12 beats and in what combination are going to be louder. Then we talk about the speed. How quickly am I going through all those beats, right? What is my time signature? How quickly am I going to cycle through a bar of either 4, 6, or 12 beats? And then finally, what key is this in? Is it going to be a upbeat, major, happier key? For those of you who are familiar with music theory, or is it going to be a more somber minor key? So if you're not familiar with music theory, don't worry about it at all. We're going to demonstrate all these things and your ear will get tuned to them and you'll just understand them. Depending on where you're coming from or how you see it, could be a good thing or a bad thing, but flamencos don't really look at music theory or read music. Everything is done through terminology and singing, or they try to avoid counting. We'll get into that a little bit later. We're going to need it as a crutch to be able to at least understand and learn. And then once you've got it, you stop counting. You don't need the counting anymore. But think of it as kind of like a shoehorn, the counting, to get your shoe on. Once your shoe's on, you're good to go. Okay? So let's dive into today's lesson. And what I want to start with is going back to a quick review of making sure, in the first place, we need kind of a control, right? So your palmas should be, whether they're the sordas, these ones, the more quiet, muffled ones, or the claras, they should be within your control to play at the same volume, with the same quality of sound, with the metronome on the beat. Before you want to try to get into this lesson more deeply, go ahead and listen to the lesson, get a feel for it, but I'm going to give you a word of advice, which is get really comfortable with playing your palmas evenly and on the beat first, okay? And I would suggest that once you could do that, whether they're the sordas or the claras, at around 130 to 150 beats per minute, you'd be completely ready for this lesson. So let's dive in. First, we're going to talk about accents. So in the palo of tangos, the two major accents fall on the 2 and the 4. And the palo of tangos is 4 times. So you do a cycle of 4 in one compás. So compás means two things really in flamenco. It means when we say you're in compás, that means you're in time. And if we say you're out of compás, that means you're out of time, which means you're not keeping up evenly with each one of those beats on the metronome, okay? But compás also means a bar of music or a cycle a number of beats depending on the palo. So for tangos, we're doing 4 beats. So 1 compás is 4 beats. 2 compás is 8 beats, and so on. You wouldn't count it in 12 or 16 beats. It's really not necessary. The maximum you would count it in is 8 for various different reasons that can get a little bit more complicated. So we'll leave that to the side. We're just going to think in 4s today. Our first job is to hear the 2 and the 4. So I'm going to put on the metronome at 80 beats per minute, and we're going to focus on the 2 and the 4. I'm going to count us in, and I'm going to say 2 and 4 more loudly. A really good trick for getting things into your muscle memory is to understand that your brain understands things far faster than your body can pick them up. Your brain's job is to teach your body how to do things without making mistakes. Your body doesn't know the difference between a mistake and something done correctly. It'll learn anything your brain directs it to do. And if your brain kind of goes offline for a second because things are going too quickly, your body will try to please your brain, even though it's offline, and you'll make a mistake. And the more you do that, those mistakes become habits, and then they become difficult to unlearn. So one really key pillar of this method is to make sure that you can do things perfectly slowly and that you almost can't get it wrong. When you get to the point where you can't get it wrong and you're getting bored, that's when you want to increase the speed or the complexity of what you're doing. So let's go back to 80 beats per minute. I'm going to talk you through those accents first. 1, 2, 3, 4. No accents. With accents, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's try and do it with our palmas. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, you can go ahead and do that with claras as well. I'm going to recommend stick to one sound until you're very fluent in that and it becomes easy, then switch to the other one. And be very, very careful that you're making an even quality of sound, that you're not changing that quality of sound. And they sound different. They need to sound exactly the same, and they need to be on the beat, and then they need to be accented on the 2 and the 4. So I'm going to speed it up a little bit so that you have an idea of what that sounds like at, let's say, 110 beats per minute. Right around here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. I can do it in claras as well, so you can hear what that sounds like. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Another way to get away from counting, you can count it 1, 2, 3, 4, or you can give it kind of different sounds like pa, pa, pa. Is silent, pa is loud. Pa, 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 pa. Then you feel the groove a little more. So you need to understand it first. It's important to really understand it. And then you can start to hear the groove. The more quickly you go, kind of you hear the groove better. So I'm going to go to 100 and let's say 40 beats per minute. And now listen to the groove. I'm not going to count. Think of it as pa, but at 140. One, two, three, four. You can play with it a little. Have fun. Why not? And then claras. So go ahead and practice that on your own until it makes sense. It's in your body, it's easy, it's clear, it's fluid, it's consistent, up to about 150 beats per minute. Once you get there, and that's easy, we're going to add a few different things. We're going to switch that first palma for a different sound, and that sound will be the sound of your foot. Barefoot or with a shoe on, it doesn't really matter. It's going to be a different sound, the sound of your foot. So I'm barefoot right now, but you can still hear, right? The thud of my barefoot hitting the floor, right? So I'll do it really slow so you can see the difference. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. So watch my hands. I'm not putting my hands together on the 1, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you don't need or nor should you separate your hands that much. I'm doing it as an illustration so your mind can clearly grasp what's happening. I'm not putting my hands together on the 1. I'm using my foot. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Same with claras, okay? No different. Just take out that sound. That first palma. Okay, take it out and replace it with a foot. All right, so let's slow that down, right back down to, let's say, 100, and try that from there. I'll count you in, and then I'll start doing it. Depending, it might get tricky for you, and if you need to, if you're having trouble coordinating, just focus on hitting that 1 with your foot. So I'll demonstrate everything. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You might be tempted to use your hand on the 1 because that's what you've been learning for a little bit. So you could actually just not do any palmas at all and just put your foot on the 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Talk yourself through. If you're having difficulty, use different methods. So you can even say foot, 2, 3, 4. Foot, 2, 3, 4. Foot, 2, 3, 4. Foot, 2, 3, 4. Whatever you need to do to get yourself where you need to go is individual. Everyone has different learning styles, different experiences, different mind-body connections, different physical facilities or challenges. So don't beat up on yourself if you can't get it right. Just keep at the beginning or right away, or you're having trouble. The most important thing to do is isolate where you're running into a challenge and a difficulty, and don't keep repeating it by forcing yourself to do something that your brain knows how to do, but your body is sort of not there yet. Okay, so slow it down. Always practice the part where your body is having the most difficulty until you can make it really smooth, and then throw in everything else that was easy, if that makes sense. So we're gonna recap. Tangos, again, is a beat that has accents, or a palo that has accents on the 2 and the 4. It's counted in 4 beats per cycle, or per compás, and the first beat is usually a foot, right? You can use a hand, but it's often done with the foot. One, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna leave you with one last element. So again, if it's too much, stop here. Don't add the last element, okay? But the actual tangos palmas, full palmas that are most often done, sound like this. There's a counter beat in there. And that counter beat is in between the 2 and the 3. And what counter time means is, instead of making a sound on the beat with the metronome, you're making a sound in between 2 beats. So let me demonstrate that first so you understand what you're hearing when you hear it. So I'm gonna slow it down. We're at 100, so let's go down to 80. So it's nice and slow for you, you can hear it clearly. So we're going beat, 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 beat. So I'm gonna put an and in between. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. I'm gonna go even slower, down to 60. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Takes your mind a second to adjust to that speed and get right in the middle of those two beats. So we're hitting an and. So you can count it this way. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay? Or since we've used our foot, you could go foot and 2 and 3 and 4. So use your foot on the beat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. To get used to making that and sound. So I'll do it really slow with the metronome. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and. Okay? So if you want to practice that, I'm going to do a whole other lesson on counter time. But if you want to practice that, move ahead a little, you can, if you feel like you're ready to be challenged that way. If not, you absolutely don't have to. I just want you to hear where that goes in that palo, 4-count compás for tangos. So I'm going to say it. It's 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4, which sounds like this. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. Or sorda, doesn't matter. Whatever you're more comfortable with. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. Okay? So if we do that really slow, it's 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. So let me go back to, let's say about 70 beats per minute, and we'll do it there. So it's 1, 2, and 3, 4. 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 All right. So I'm going to do it more quickly for you where it would normally be if you were doing tangos, because that's really, really slow. We would never do tangos there. But it's a good speed so that your brain and body can communicate well and you're not getting your body confused and making mistakes that you then have to iron out. Okay? So I'm going to go up to 140 beats per minute and do the two different beats that we did, the accents on only the 2 and 4, and then I'm gonna go into 1, 2, and 3, 4, so you can hear the difference. Okay, here we go. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 with the foot. 1, 2, and 3, 4. That's what tango sounds like. Now, without me saying anything, without counting, without making sounds, this is what you would hear. I had a little fun going into counter time so you could hear that groove in counter time as well, okay? So make sure that you're practicing slowly first. Please be kind to your body. Your brain is much faster and smarter than your body. Your body needs some time to get its nervous system rewired with direction from the brain. Make sure that you're challenging yourself, not by making it so difficult that you keep making mistakes and your goal is to make fewer mistakes. Make sure you're challenging yourself by being as perfect as you possibly can be at a rate that can get a little boring for you, but you still have to pay attention to make sure your sounds are even, you don't flub anything, you don't make a mistake. When that starts to become automatic, like you could chew bubblegum and do that, or think about your lunch tomorrow and do that, then speed it up. You can speed it up as little as 1 beat per minute, or 5, depending on how you feel, how you're learning. Some people learn more incrementally, some exponentially. Everybody has a different learning style. We don't all learn the same way. We have different backgrounds, experiences, and we have different mind-body connections, different physical facilities or challenges. So please, this is not about, getting upset, because there's always a way through. This is about how to learn, and the way to learn efficiently and effectively and make the fewest mistakes possible is to go very, very slow in the beginning and try to be as consistent and perfect as you can be, and then slowly increase speed and slowly add complexity. So if all you can get to for the next week is accents on the 2 and the 4, and knowing where the 1, 2, and 3, 4 land, and being able to count them, or being able to hear a groove, that's amazing. If you can throw in the foot, fantastic. If you can throw in that 1 palma and counter time, amazing. But it's not a race, it's not a competition. Go at your own speed, take your time, enjoy yourself, and try to hear that groove, right? Count, but then try to do it without counting. Try to see if you can hear the groove over time. All right, so thank you again for today's lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did and you'd like more lessons like this, please hit the subscribe button below to make sure that you don't miss any more lessons that I'll be dropping at least once, maybe twice a week for the next little while.